playlist. So someone said to sort the mic out. So I wonder whether we ought to have it here.
Well, Alf was saying he's recording a lot of stuff as well. So, but
okay, would you like to come and speak? Can you hear me? Yes. Hello. I haven't got a huge amount to say. Closer. Is that enough?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm a Londoner, but I actually live in Stockholm in Sweden at the moment, and that's why I'm wearing this, which says woman, adult, human, female in Swedish. And I basically just want to say one thing, which is that the situation in Sweden is absolutely desperate. Nobody is protesting, and we need help. So if anybody knows anyone in Sweden or wants to organise anything in Sweden, please contact me via, my name's Rachel, contact me via Locals Standing for Women. Everyone seems to think that Sweden is like a freedom-loving, very open country, and it is not. People are not open-minded. They fear protesting. It's the worst thing you can do in Sweden is to stand out and be different from your neighbour. Everybody is absolutely compliant, obedient, and silent and self-censored. I have not been able to find anybody in Sweden who is organising against this pernicious movement, which has already destroyed my own family, and I fear for the next generation. I have a Swedish grandson who is 10 years old. They no longer give invasive treatment to children in Sweden, as probably most people have read, and everyone is like, yay, Sweden has got it right. But they are still socially transitioning children as fast as they can go. They tell them at school, you can choose your sex, that biological sex change is possible, all the usual raft of lies. And so the kids can just now wait until they're 18, having socially transitioned, and say, okay, now I'm an adult, I'll have the treatment that I need. And so that's just going to build up into the next few years. I know a lot of people who privately have said to me they don't agree with this ideology in Sweden, but they are scared to speak out. They are not really scared to lose their jobs. I mean, maybe a few people are. They are mostly simply scared of saying anything that is not said by everybody else in Sweden. It's the most conformist possible society you can imagine. So I have found one other person who is actually protesting openly, who is a Geordie, as it turns out. So she and I get together. We've met once so far, and hopefully we can start a protest movement. But it's an uphill struggle, and I'm just terrified of what is coming. But for the next generation, that's basically all I want to say. Help!
I just want to say, if you're worried about maybe not doing enough, I just want to tell you, just starting a conversation with somebody. I met a woman on another plane that seemed to be on them a lot for someone that hates flying. And she started talking about her son, who he was in his like 5th different thing that he really was and identified as. And so because I just talk to anyone about anything all the time, much to my children's delight, I just said to her, are you okay? And her son had been identifying as female for the last 3 years. And it was the first time anyone had asked her, are you okay? So I'm not going to do that weird thing like they do on like team building courses where I say, look at the person next to you. But if you did want to, even people in your peripheral vision, right? You don't have to look at anyone. It would be weird and uncomfortable because we're all British. But those people that have come to stand next to you, you could literally say to them, women don't have penises. And do you know what? They won't even gasp. You could literally say all the things that sometimes, even in your own home, you feel like you can't say, or in your own wider family, or maybe at those awkward Christmas, Boxing Day conversations. But you can say those things here, and nobody dies. Nobody even threatens suicide. Everybody just is absolutely fine and dandy, and I think that is the power of what these sort of events do. So I was gonna say lady in the blue, but you're both in the blue. I'm gonna take you first, and then do you want to go next? All right, thank you.
Okay, I don't need a microphone. I don't need a microphone.
We've got it here. It should
Okay.
pick you up.
Is this about the level to speak at? I don't want anybody not to hear. Yeah? Okay. Closer, even closer. Okay. My name's Heather. I'm from here. I've walked in. I'm that close. It's really great to see everybody here. But I'm here really to give a little bit of good news, because we had a big success this week. It flew under the radar because women's stuff flies under the radar quite a lot. I'm from an organisation called With Woman, and just before Christmas, an invitation to quote went out for anybody to bid to train 40 maternity units in gender inclusive language. We saw it. We got together on a small group of us over Christmas and New Year, and we worked like crazy. And just last week, with all the social media campaigning, the courting of journalists, the direct approaches to people who we thought were in a decision-making space, that invitation to bid has been withdrawn. And that is important, because I'm not a birthing parent. I'm a grandmother. I'm not a birthing parent of a birthing parent. My children, my daughters, are not birthing parents. They are mothers and they are women. Women is not something you can identify out of and pretend everything is all right. Everyone who gives birth is a mother. She's a woman. She needs that sexed terminology. And if she wants to call herself anything at home, I don't fucking care. But when she comes into the wider world, if she's reading a leaflet, and if I'm reading a leaflet telling me I've got a cervix, I've got to go and get it checked, I'm a woman. That's why I need to have my cervix checked, because I'm a woman. And mother is an important word. It's a sex word. We're mothers because we are women. Everyone labouring in the hospital here today is a woman, whatever she calls herself at home. And now we will not have midwives who don't like this at all, I can tell you. We won't have midwives scared to not refer to the birthing parent in the next bed, or I've just got to look after this labouring person. No, we will talk about mothers, and that is important, because our biology is important to us, and if we lose that, any of those tossers over there can tell us that they're now women as well. So we need to protect our language forever. Thank you.
Well done, that woman.
Hello. Language is the thing, and I'm here. I went to Speaker's Corner almost 2 years ago and was far too scared to speak. And I tell you, I'm not scared now. I'm really ready to talk. Now, I'm going to talk to you about something that I haven't seen in the press. I'm a hypnosis practitioner, and I've been doing hypnosis for 30 years and helping people to hypnotize others. And I know about language. And I know that this is based on something we call the big lie. Do you know the big lie? The big lie was first described by Adolf Hitler in Mein Kampf. The big lie is such a big lie that ordinary people like us think, well, that can't be a lie, because I'd never tell any as big a lie as that. We only lie in small ways. The big lie, well, there is one big lie going on, and it was begun by men in the early part of the 20th century. It was began when they had an erotic fantasy, and they decided they were going to sell us the big lie. And what is the big lie? The big lie is trans women are, but they're not, are they? They're men, and we know that. So let me just spend a couple of minutes telling you a bit about how this hypnosis works. Repetition. Repetition is hypnotic. The more you repeat it, the more you believe it. The more you hear trans women are women, the more a shadow of that big lie lies in your head. And I'm sure I'm not alone in saying that I've sat at home and thinking, well, maybe there is, maybe they do have, female thought patterns. No, they effing don't. All the thought patterns I have are my thought patterns, and I have as much DNA that is female in my toenail as Eddie Izzard doesn't have in any part of him. So the thing is that you start to believe it. You start to believe it. And if you repeat an idea over and over again, and people start to believe it, you want them to believe it, that's called an affirmation. Affirmations are what hypnotists use to make you believe something. So be kind is an affirmation. If you're sympathetic to this ideology that I call the trans fallacy, if you are sympathetic, then you are affirming. Every time you call a he who says he's a she, you are affirming. Affirmation makes people believe things. If you repeat it and repeat it, I'm hoping I'm repeating this enough that you will be in no doubt ever that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. So how to stop this? What's called gaslighting, what's called brainwashing. Manage your emotions. Don't match them. Don't get sympathetic. Don't go, oh, there, dear. Break the trance. Pour cold water over their lives. Do it realistically or do it with your words. Your honest words break people out of compliance. If you're honest, they can't stay where they're, because it's all about state management. We have to manage our emotions. Refuse to affirm. And the best thing is laugh. I know I'm not laughing now, but I do laugh a lot. And I want to just give you one last tip on hypnosis. Don't ever say to someone, trans women are not women, because our unconscious mind does not think not. It only thinks, it hears trans women, trans women. Oh, trans women, well, they are women, aren't they? They are women. And then they smile. Emotions are what caught them. They got caught not by rational things, they got caught by emotions. And how we're going to break this is by using emotions that shake them out so they can't find that emotion of sympathy ever again. Thank you.
Okay, who's next? Come.
Well, first of all, apologies to all the students over there who had to get up early. And they had the long walk of the university behind us, all the way over there. So, good on you. Now, I've spoken in Bristol and in Brighton, but I've got family there who put me up. I come from here. This is my home. And I am a TERF and I am home. Now, talking about emotion, I put my emotion into poems. and I've written one for this. I have to say, I edited it this morning, so I hope I don't get it wrong. It's called We Already Have a Name. The Lancet and the NHS, trans lobbyists and all the rest refer to a man as a man, calling something else bodies with a vagina. Once assigned the second sex, now defined as even less. Bleeders, breeders, the mystery that are chest feeders, cervix havers, menstruators, birthing bodies, incubators to be bought or sold like chattel or a whore, like all the history gone before, self-appointed deciders of our lives, while we hold up half the sky. What are birthing bodies? Cats? Dogs? Or would that be bitches? My approach is, I've been called worse, which is to say, I'm not adverse at being considered non-human if you're humanity's last. Survivors of your nihilistic war on us like cockroaches or rats. I'm not fussed because your fantasies cannot come to pass. You parody periods and pain. A pornified pantomime dame stood in an eternal line of envy, millennia deep, as wide as our maimed earth, vexed that you need us, invested to be us. But no man gets pregnant, will ever give birth. You'll never be maternal. Bear that brood. Add that to your claim of victimhood. Such relish as you put that baby to your nipple. Every cell in your body is male. You feed only your fetish. Hell should prevail in the sin of your profanity. Yet in this, nature wins. You fail the test. There is no poison from our breast. You spill the white, hot hate of your mind, state we should be still, be silent, and be kind. Take a long, hard look of introspection. Know that from something smaller than the width of a human hair, we made you, gave life to you in loud pain and quiet blood, retching and reaching for gas and air, of fear of going where there's loss or death, and for what? Your breath, upon reflection, doesn't that mean you are non-human too? You'll never take our humanity, our inner peace or self-respect. We reject the insanity of your deception, uphold reality and common sense have primacy to your pretense. Sex is binary, immutable, and absolute, beginning at conception. We refute our name, our words, a prefix of people, or a subset in misogynistic minds. Intellects the same, physiology and instinct both distinct, specifically designed. Though we are so much more, be sure that at the very least we are your equal, the makers of all humankind, none other. We are birthing bodies. We are every body's mother. Learn it. Our name is woman. We earned it.
Like I said in my live stream the other day, I really do feel like I'm the mother of the entire planet. My husband said one of these days it's going to get me assaulted, but then I feel I run the gauntlet quite frequently with these lovely encroaching upon us, students. But let me just tell you, we will not move. We will not move, not one of us. The police, I'm really happy. They've been very cooperative. They're doing a great job. But we will not be moved at all. So the closer they come, the more truths they're going to hear. Who's next? You may. Let this lady go first.
Hi everyone. I decided that I wanted to come today because my hero of all my life was Emily Davison. That was the lady that threw herself in front of the King's Horse. She's a local hero. She's buried just up the road in Morpeth. So all my life I've always thought, well, I've got to vote because of those women. They did all of that for us. They did all of that for us. But I'm at a point in my life now where I can feel there is absolutely no point in voting whatsoever for any of the parties. Not one of them can say what a woman is. And until they can do that, I will not vote. I will spoil my vote. My other reason really for wanting to talk today is over the last 2 years I've had a bit of a hoo-ha getting my son into a special school. It took, that's another thing to go into. But when I eventually got to the special school that I had fought for 6 months to get him into, the first thing I saw when I walked into the school was this massive poster telling them all about this is for trans this is for this is for that. And I was horrified. I was completely horrified. The whole school was covered in rainbows. They are going for our autistic kids, people. They are going to blend in queer and disabled. They're going to blend them in together. They are targeting our autistic children. They are making them think that they are not right in their body. Yes, they feel that, but it doesn't mean that they have to take puberty blockers, have bindings on their breasts. There are girls going around in schools here, that have got breast binders on. It is wrong, and we have got we've got to make it stop. And these people over here, they're not even from Newcastle. Not one of them is. No way are they from Newcastle. Thanks, ladies, and I'm going to go.
I do apologise, I was having a little bit of fun. They're so cross and they don't know why. I just want to say to every single girl over there, no matter how much you hate us, you will become us. No matter how old you think we look, you will get there too, if you're lucky. Because to be 48 is a lucky old thing. I'm sure we all know people that didn't quite make it. And so I will not be afraid of growing old. I will embrace it somewhat and wear more makeup. But these young women hate us so much because they fear what they will become, which is someone no longer attractive with currency in this world of ours. And I think that's reinforced completely by pornography, by all different prevailing cultures, by the fact that your value as a woman is your attractiveness. And then for some girls, they opt out. But they don't really opt out. They sort of sidestep it for a moment or two. And as long as they say the right things and please the right men, and yes, I will say this, get on their knees. As long as they do that, it helps them a little bit. They may be killed last. But I just want them to know that no matter how much you hate the idea of older women, you will become one. And actually, it's really bloody great. It's very, very nice. You get to ask for things that you want and you actually get them. You get to be able to afford to buy the things that you want without guilt. And women, if you haven't got there, if you still feel a bit guilty for buying yourself something, because it means one of your kids doesn't get something they don't really need, you need to put that feeling aside. It's actually quite empowering to buy something for yourself that you don't really need. and you make somebody else wait. Anyway, who's next? It's like the pantomime.
It's lipstick on this microphone, which is quite nice. Right. I apologise now if I'm saying something that you all know and you've all heard before. But with that said, some things bear repeating, and men can't ever be women. That's my first thing. The second thing I want to move on to is I work as a carer. So talking about old people and old women fading out of society, those are the women that I look after. I go into women's homes and men of all ages, but mostly the elderly, and I provide all aspects of personal care. Imagine, if you will, the loss of your dignity and your privacy and what that might mean to you. These are people who they have lost what they would view as their dignity because they are not able to have the privacy to wash themselves, clean themselves, to feed themselves, to take their medication on their own, like most people take for granted. Now, this kind of care where you're going into people's houses, it's one-on-one care. You go in, you've got their key. So you're opening up your home. Imagine how vulnerable you must feel, okay? This is aside from trans rights and trans issues. Already, care companies are sending around men to do this kind of care. Now, that might be all right for some people. However, a lot of people on my route that I used to do would not be able to consent to that. So all of you who know somebody who needs care in their own homes, please be very careful and make sure you know who's going into their homes, because your elderly grandmother, for example, might not be comfortable with a man coming into her home to give her personal care, but equally she may not have the capacity to say that, and she may not, if she's got Alzheimer's, she may not be able to tell you that that's something that's just happened to her. A friend of mine needs care. She's not elderly, actually. She's in a wheelchair, and care companies, even though she specified and she has capacity to say so that she did not want a man in her home, they still sent around a man because the care system is on its knees. So they'll take anyone, the care companies, to send out. So you've got to be really careful. She was able to say no, and she's lucky because she has a husband who's not well himself but was able to take the flak. However, that's not true for most people. They're stuck on their own, in their own homes, and someone's got the key and they're going in. So this is aside from men in dresses deciding to come along. So we need to, what the ladies were saying before, we need to hold on to our language so we can say whether or not we consent to men coming into our homes, okay? That's all I really wanted to say. The only other thing, while I'm here, I've got a great friend in India who's working on a film at the moment, and it's about trans widows and their voices. So if anybody's able to get online and have a look at, it is my friend Vaishnavi Sanda. So if you go and look her up, she may need some help with funding, things like that. If anyone wants to help, get on the internet and do that for me. I'd be really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you.
We had a little trans activist in a dressing gown. I feel like saying, for those of you that might get this reference, what's for tea tonight, Mum? I don't know, Poodle. You'll have to wait and see. It's got a little bubble hat on, hasn't it? I'm sorry you hate your mum. But what do we say to these little boys? Your mums are tough!
Hello, Sister Turfs.
Hi!
I'm Sue Robson. I wasn't going to speak because I haven't prepared anything and I'm a bit emotionally fragile. But I used to run North East Women's Network. I was the coordinator of North East Women's Network, which was a network of women's organisations, and all we did was protect women-only spaces, sex-based women-only spaces. Looking round, I see one or two women who were involved in North East Women's Network, but I think next time Posey comes to Newcastle, we need to get them all here. I've spent, best part of my life in feminist activism and campaigning. I'm 62, so I've been a turf longer than you, Posey. I don't know where to start with this really, but I bring up my grandson. He's 14. He wanted to come today, but he's a big lad. He's about 16.5 stone. And I said, Vinny, they'll just think that you're like a trans woman, like infiltrating. But anyway, Vinny goes to a highly specialist school in the northeast, where probably some of the most children with the most complex needs go. And he just comes in every day, and the last one was telling him men can have babies, telling him children can trans from 2 years old. He had a complete meltdown one day and we had to bring him home. Vinny is amazing, very, very clever, but his reading age is probably about 6. And well, it is 6 because he just had it assessed. And they were trying to teach him in English, which is supposed to have one-to-one, that they is a singular pronoun. And then the other day he came in and asked me what Zer is, because it was on a poster at school. Do you know? And so it's just really difficult. Anyway, Vinny's mum, my daughter, Tina, died in 2020. She suffered from alcoholism, polysubstance misuse from a very young age because she suffered a childhood trauma. So I'm setting up a very specialist organisation in her name called Tina's Haven. And we're working with a really, really marginalised group of women. And that's birth mothers who've been severed, birth mothers and children who've been severed by trauma-based addiction. So it's a pretty niche group, and not a small group by any means, because a lot of children are removed and severed from their birth families forever. And Tina, I made sure that she had contact with her her son, which a lot of mothers and children don't, that end up in adoption and sometimes never see each other again. And he said to me, he said, Nan, he said, if I hadn't had these memories of me mum, it would have been much harder losing her. And that really compelled me. So we're doing some really successful work. If you Google hashtag Tina's Haven, you probably get stuff, on Twitter and on Facebook. And when I was, Tina addiction services, homelessness services, any services that she was encountered were designed for men, with concerns about men. So even though women weren't excluded for those services, and at an inquest, I had to hear her berated even in her death, because she didn't engage in these services that were designed for men. And so almost that if a death was really our own fault through this lack of engagement. And the coroner did congratulate me at the end, for making a stand for it, and she knew by that time, that I was committed to developing, or certainly influencing policy around for women. And one of the organisations I worked with during the inquest that, in campaigning for homeless women was dead impressed with Tina's Haven, a national homeless organisation, and wanted to, support with the project, until the point where I said, you need to know that we are working with birth mothers. So we couldn't have a trans man rocking up and saying,
you know, who lost their children through addiction, as a man, as a father, saying that they were a birth mother, and that was the problem. And I just think, I walked here today, and I walked over there, and I just started to cry. Like, what the hell is this about? You know, I was reading an article in The Guardian yesterday about that woman, Sarah, who was absolutely slaughtered in the street. You know, and it, you know, not just with, you know, two women a week, like, you know, killed, you know, most of them by their partners, but you know, there's several women recently who've been slaughtered on the street, you know, and hearing them, you know, neighbours hearing them screaming and doing nothing about it. And we've got people over there in the name of human rights, you know, trying to take away the sex-based rights of women when we're in this with probably the worst place that we've ever been in living history. Fuck off!
Trans women, not trans men. So she asked for female only, and the organisation weren't happy.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And she's been a TERF longer than me by about 35 years. Okay, so just because they're having their repetition stuff, maybe we could do some of ours. No woman has a penis! No man has a vagina! No such thing as non-binary! No such thing as a trans child! We will not be silenced! Oh, one more, just to finish off with a smile. Your mum's a TERF! Oh, it's so great! Maybe we should form a cult after all. I take subscriptions, so I don't know what we could be called, the vulvas or something. Okay, who's next? Yes.
There have been some very moving speeches here. I'm not here to talk about the effect of gender ideology, but about our weapons in fighting it. Specifically, I'm here to talk about politics and why it is important that we get involved. All our political parties have been captured, and they've been captured because the trans activists are motivated and highly active. They get themselves on all the committees and into the positions where they are influencing policy. They're also setting and controlling a social agenda. They convince people it's hateful to speak about the risks that these policies they propose raise to women and children and vulnerable people. These activists are actually few in number, and they do not have as much support as they claim to have. They are relying on the social taboo that they have created that no one will question them. We must get our people into the room. People who will not be silenced by the rules set by those who are doing us harm. By working collectively, we can undo their work. I am a member of a group called Liberal Voice for Women. We are all Lib Dem members who have various concerns, trans activism, free speech, whatever reason we've come to it. We want to rescue the party from the hands of these people. We're supporting each other to speak out. We've been speaking out at conference, putting motions in, having speeches. We have had members stand for election and they have been voted on these, which means that when they're in this room talking about these policies, we have someone there to say, actually,
that's not true, is it? Or, well, what about this? And how are you going to answer that? And they will not be silenced, and these issues will be debated. Because of the elections and the debates around them, the ordinary members are waking up to what is going on in their party, and they are supporting us. We have members elected onto key committees. We've caused the party to withdraw and review their definition of transphobia, which basically was an oppressive tool to silence gender critical voices. And the most important thing is that we have shown the membership that no, you do not have to recite their slogans. And yes, you can ask questions. So I'm here to say, please join the party, any party. I'm not here recruiting for a particular party. I'm here to recruit gender critical women to get them in the room where policy and laws are being made. We don't want these people dominating the room. We don't want them having whispered conversations. We don't want them to be the only ones with the ear of the policymakers. We need to be in that room. We need to be in those corridors. We need to be whispering into those ears. So join the party and support the gender critical people by voting on internal elections. If you can, face it, attend or log into conference and vote for gender critical motions, and that way we can seize the agenda. Okay, so I'm going to hold up for the camera the web pages and the names of the gender critical groups within the 4 main parties, because there are a lot of trans feminist groups around, so you have to be very careful. Okay, so politics matters. So please, however captured they are, don't stand back. We can get in, we can turn it round. Thank you.
Okay, who's next? There's another lady. Yes. Heart-shaped sunglasses. My favourite song.
Hi everybody, I'm very nervous. I've never spoken like this before. I'll be brief. They're telling us to go home. They're telling us to get off their streets. I think it just shows what this movement is about, trying to get women out of public life, stay in the house, stay in the kitchen, you know. They're also saying there's more of them than us. I think most of the public would agree with us, but also I know several people who aren't here today because they didn't feel safe. My very good friend didn't want to come, even though she's completely with us, because she's worried about her job. My daughter, who was 15 when she watched the Brighton event, she's just 16, she wanted to come and speak, but we both agreed that she might get attacked, you know, so obviously I wouldn't bring her. But I'll just let you know what she wanted to say. And she wanted to say, I'm 16 years old and we do not want men in our spaces.
I'm telling you, there's loads of teenagers in schools. So let me just remind you about your duty as a parent. And I'm sure if you're here, you've already thought about your duty quite seriously as a parent. But you are, by far, the most privileged position, in the most privileged position of everybody within a school family. Oh, I hate that actually. School community. They're not family. Anyway, so your child is going to find it difficult to object to this crap. Teachers in the staff room, although I'm less and less forgiving on a daily basis, if you indoctrinate my child, woe betide. I have talked to the teacher. I've had 3 letters now. I went into school, so let me just back up. So school, we're going to have gendered intelligence to go into the classroom because the school weren't experts. She didn't know the terminology. And I am going to swear, and I was like, felt like saying, why the fuck are you teaching it then? But instead I said, do you know what I do? And she said yes. And I said, good, this will be a lot easier then. The answer to gendered intelligence coming into school is no. Not no, I don't think so. But no. We say it all the time in women's circles. No is a complete sentence. And yet I feel very few women actually put that in their actual lives. I do it all the time, and it's a lot of fun because people often fill in the silence and make your argument. So the answer was no, and she said, but we don't have expertise. And I said, well, nor do they. They have lobby group mentality and propaganda. So I said to the teacher, what's gender? So she read the description from the government guidance. Well, it's the thing that you identify as. Gender is the gender that you identify as. And I said, yes, great. What's gender? And so we went around a little bit and I sort of said, look, you bring them in. I write to every single parent and tell them what you're teaching. Weirdly, they decided not to. Save your applause. So then my son, age 14, comes home and goes, Mum, we've got 4 LGBT lessons. 1 on sexuality, 2 on transgender, and 1 on gender identity. So I wrote to the teacher, and I didn't do the, hey, I'm interested. I said, you indoctrinate my son, and I will make you personally liable for grooming. Do not indoctrinate my son. Do not make my son a social outcast while you indoctrinate the rest of the kids. This is not an ideology that is welcome in young minds. It's not an ideology welcome in old minds. But it's not a welcome ideology in young minds. So I just said, look, give me your lesson plans. Let me see what you're going to teach. Well, Mrs. Keen, thank you so much. I totally agree with you. We shouldn't indoctrinate children. Blah, 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 family, blah, 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 busy. I'll get something to you. Monday comes. Hi, still keen on receiving those lesson plans. Have a great day. Oh, Mrs. Keen, totally, definitely, blah, 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 blah. No lesson plans. I got my 3rd letter this morning, which I haven't read. I will be responding. Send me the lesson plans. Not even going to use his name this time, or mine. And until I get the lesson plans, he's going to get pestering, squeaky wheel, annoying communication from me. And if I don't get what I want, I will go to governors. I will go to parents. I will use every single tool at my disposal. And then I'll leaflet the school. Woe betide a woman with a leaflet. But I'm just saying, you are the powerful person. You can go in and talk to the school in a way that no one else can. And you have to look those teachers in the eye, and you have to say the things. When they say it, you have to ask them what they mean, and you have to ask them what they mean, and then you have to ask them what they mean. And you have to make them say to you, I don't know, I just don't know what I mean. You have to make them admit that they don't know what they're teaching to these children, but you have to drag it out. But I'm telling you, you tell those teachers in every single school, I will not allow you to indoctrinate my child, and I will not allow you to make my child an outcast because you've indoctrinated everybody else. Okay, next. I think we ought to do 3 rounds of your mum's a tough. You can turn around if you want to. Your mum's a tough. Your mum's a tough. Your mum's a tough. Thanks so much. Come back in. Who's next?
Okay, well, I wasn't originally going to speak about this, but I feel there's a lot of people over there who need to know exactly what they are campaigning for. so I'm going to start. Trans rights are human rights, and we all know that. But what are human rights? And that is, in the UK, that is the Human Rights Act 1998, which sets a number of human rights. That's the European Convention. I won't list them because I can't remember all of them. I don't have my notes with me. But so, trans rights activism, they have all the human rights in the convention. They always have had them. So, what does trans rights and human rights really mean? Well, it comes from the phrase women's rights are human rights, and that phrase was coined by Hillary Clinton in a speech where she talks about femicide, sex-selective abortion, the fact that the biggest danger to women aged 14 to 44 is the violence of subjected to in their own homes. She talks about breast dyeing and foot binding, various violations of women's human rights, which happened around the world in 1995, which is when the speech was given. It's all still relevant now to women. Women is killed every 2.5 days in this country by often by a close relative. And this is something that women face. They can't identify out of it. It happens because of their sex. So what trans rights activists are actually campaigning for is a removal of some women's human rights under the Human Rights Act. And I will take you through the 5, 6 articles. So the first article they're in breach of is the most grievous one. It's Article 3, which is freedom from torture or inhuman and degrading treatment. So torture has a solid legal definition of a public official or person acting in an official capacity commits the offence of torture in the UK or elsewhere if he intentionally inflicts severe pain or suffering in the performance or purported performance of his official duties. Bit of a tongue twister, that. So that is the Criminal Justice Act definition. The reason I want to talk about that is for something to fit that definition, there has to be 3 parts of that satisfied. And this is, the context of this is women in prison. So an official person acting in an official capacity, that would be whoever sanctions the transfer of male inmates into women's prisons. The severe pain or suffering is very much on the testimonies. You can see them on this Keep Prison Single Sex site. Women will refuse to shower because the indignity of showering with men. Constant psychological trauma, because many of these men have been convicted of serious violence against women, and given the conviction rates, it's going to be extreme violence. And this is constant psychological trauma. 60% of women in prison have been abused by men. So imagine having so much trauma that the mere sight of a man gives you an uncontrollable fear response. These women, they won't use communal facilities and they are in constant mental distress. And they fear being raped in a woman's prison. And the last part of that definition is intent, and that is if you are aware of a very likely consequence of your action, it qualifies as intent. So yes, the officials sanctioning this are committing torture as an offence. And these people support the torture of women in prison. Yes. The next article I will go through, and I will deal with 2 together because they are very similar. Article 9 and Article 10, freedom of speech and freedom of expression, respectively. So this protects the right for people to express opinions via speech, television broadcasts, tweets, posters, radio programs, etc., etc. And speech is protected, even if it's offensive, so long as it is not advocating for violence. That is where the line is drawn in the UK. These guys advocate for us to not have that. And any company firing a woman for expressing that belief is in breach of that. And that's why we've had these wins for legal cases of Maya Forstater, Alison Bailey, etc. And just as I've name dropped Maya Forstater, I will mention the petition, which we all know about. If you haven't already signed the petition, please come to me. I have many QR codes. So that's freedom of speech and expression. And these guys, again, are campaigning against it. Article 11 is freedom of association. This includes single-sex spaces, women advocating for women. These don't think women should have any right to any space away from men. Well, under the Human Rights Act, We have freedom of association, and we can associate with who the hell we want, and if that includes women only, then that is legal. The next one. Okay, so Article 14, this is a little bit more complicated. It protects a number of things: race, religion. This is non-discrimination due to race, religion, language, social class. And there are two strands to this. First is abolition of single-sex spaces is contravenes Article 14 in the context of Orthodox Jewish and Muslim women who require single-sex spaces to change. They have a religious right to that. And then we have inclusive language. The not dehumanising at all, menstruators, cervix havers, person with a womb, all of that. This discriminates against ESL women, particularly those whose first language is a non-European language, and it also discriminates against working class women. So ESL women, and again, particularly those who don't speak a European language as their first language, they know what a woman is. It's a very basic English word. They might not understand cervix havers and menstruators. Working class and lesser educated women, who are not one and the same, we know many women don't know all the names of their anatomy. We know education around it is still terrible, even in the developed world. These people, all of these people, when they're told they need people with a cervix have this issue or need a screening, they might not register that includes them. So why don't we use the truly inclusive women and other people with a cervix? You could use that. But no, because these want to erase women. And am I to assume, in a medical context, the lives of our immigrant and working class women are worth less than middle class men who want to bargain on womanhood? Lastly, Article 17 states you cannot campaign for removal of rights. Trans people have all the rights. We are not campaigning to remove them. They have all the rights and can go to all the spaces male people can for trans women, female people can for trans men. And no one is wanting to change that because they're people who need those rights. But these guys, want to abolish the women's rights I've talked about. They want to stop us using our language. They want to stop our association. They are perfectly happy with women in prison being tortured. And this has to stop. This has to stop now. Because they don't know what they're campaigning for. They will not listen to other people because they know they're wrong, which is why they dress like pound shop black shirts.
Oh, do you reckon they're cold? Because I reckon they probably haven't come prepared for the freezing cold. And I reckon some of those not from Newcastle also don't have a coat. But can you imagine being that disordered? Can you imagine, like, some of those people will have a fixed sexual orientation, right? Or bisexual or heterosexual, homosexual, some of them. Most of them, all of them, unless they're supposedly asexual, which I don't think is a thing. And so they now can't even date. Like the things that we all took for granted, the embarrassment of being chatted up, the kind of who you fancy, who you lust after. Some of those will feel so gaslit by the ideology they've bought into, they can't even do that. I mean, I was saying that at their age, and you'll only know this if you're my age, but at their age, I'd have had a hangover watching Sunset Beach Omnibus on a Sunday. There's no way I'd be out protesting a load of, mostly middle-aged women. Yeah, I'd have been far too hungover. They don't even go out, do they? These kids don't even go out, get drunk and make mistakes. They just make really catastrophic errors of judgment that have lifelong consequences, whereas I won't even go into what I did. Would you like to speak? Lovely, come on.
Hello. So I've been only very peripherally involved in organising this today, but there's somebody who was really strongly involved in it and did nearly all of the work at our end, and her name is Liz Panton, and she's poorly and she's not here. And can we give her a big cheer, because I'm sure she's watching on YouTube.
Yeah, thank you. I usually do that at the end. The women that have organised this have done such a fine job. And we have our stewards. If we just have a round of applause for the stewards, they've come up, some of them, from miles away. We're not finished though. Who else? Who else would like to speak? Anybody else? Yes.
I don't even know if I can speak because I'm a bit ropey, but just like to let you know that on Wednesday, the Leeds Resisters will be taking a deputation to Leeds City Council to question them on their inclusivity policy. We expect it will be voted down, but then we'll know and what to do next. But we're doing this because of the Dolotowski incident. Everyone knows about that? The convicted paedophile placed in a women and children's refuge. So we're challenging them on their inclusivity policy because it puts women and children at risk. So keep an eye on social media. We'll put a link out because it will be live streamed, the deputation, and then we'll see where we go from there. Dolotowski is currently residing in a women's prison in Scotland after battering a man in a male prison. So we're not letting this go. Thank you.
Wednesday, there's a deputation to Leeds City Council to challenge him on inclusivity. Is there anywhere they can follow you? So it's Leeds Resisters doing this. So have a look at them on social media, and they'll also be telling Mumsnet. I'm banned. I'm banned from Mumsnet. I basically said, if Stella Creasy answered the question, what is a woman? I would drink a bottle of Prosecco through my nose. Apparently that's a bannable, offensive thing to say. But I don't know if you know, but Stella Creasy's got a baby. She's actually got more than one. She's got 2 babies. I think it was a woman. So yes, anyone else? Do you want to speak? Yeah, come on. There's lipstick all over this one.
Cool. I just want to say 2 quick things today. Yeah, I should know that. I should know about that. Quick, first thing, actually, I want to speak to any of the men here today. Nice of coming down, my brothers. Good to see you. There's a few of us that come together in an organisation called Male Allies Challenging Sexism, which you can follow if you want at Men v Sexism on Twitter. There's not much going on with it at the moment. It's quite a small group, but I think they'd like to grow. There will be a gathering along with the Filia in Glasgow in October. We did one back at the last Filia event. It was good fun. It was about 7 or 8 of us who got together, chatted about what's going on. It's we're open to all sorts of discussions about sexism, but we are pretty solidly GC. We don't have an issue with that. So yeah, get involved with that if you'd like to. The other thing I want to mention quickly is to explain a bit about why I fly this flag. Yeah. 1 second, bear with me. So some people might be surprised to see this here. What that is, it's the Pace rainbow. It's an Italian peace flag from the 60s. It predates the original Pride flag. It's not a gay Pride flag with Pace written on it. That's the inspiration to that flag. Now, the reason I fly this here is I first flew this marching against the Iraq War in 2005. I come from a very leftist and anti-racist kind of a background as far as my politics go. I don't know, like, this movement doesn't need to agree with that. I just fly it because that's something that speaks to me. And I fly it because those Egypts over there like to try and say that this is a bunch of Nazis. Hello! I'm fucking not. Whenever I put one of these up around a bunch of Nazis, they rip it out of my hands. That hasn't happened here. But like I say, this doesn't need to be a left-wing movement. I am very happy to work with and do work with and collaborate with anyone that understands that sex exists and that humans, well, at least across that sex divide, that humans should be able to live in a somewhat equal fashion. That's all. So yeah, I think hopefully that explains that one. Cool.
Right, anyone else? You can speak in front of the camera if you're worried about anyone seeing you, but otherwise I'm going to wrap up, figuratively and otherwise. Yes, come on. Okay, right.
I don't mind actually. Should we move the mic? Just do this.
Hello everyone. First of all, I want to say thank you to all the inspiring women who's come out today and spoken. That word woman, it's the reason I want to be off camera is because I came along and I didn't know what to expect today. I'm pretty new to the debate. He's a bit of a heroine of mine to become one really quickly. Because I can't believe what's actually happening. I can't believe how quickly this ideology is creeping into our institutions. I'm a teacher. That's one of the reasons why I didn't want to be on camera. But I think we do have to speak up. Somebody spoke. I'm inclusive. Everyone can live however they want to live within the law. And why aren't we teaching that still? Somebody mentioned education earlier. I think it was Pussy talking about it and talked about how say to the teacher, this is not what you want. It's not coming from the DFE. Our education system isn't saying this is what we need to teach. We don't need to teach the gender ideology. I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know how it's coming into schools. And anyway, what I wanted to say is, on my way here, I didn't tell many people I was coming because as soon as you mentioned it, people said, "Oh, are you going to the anti-trans protest?" No, I'm not. They're the anti-women protest. Yes. So I'm on a bit of a one-man mission. I've never spoken in public, and everyone I speak to privately, I try and tell them actually the media portrays this as the mainstream view. Actually, I think everyone going to the match today, everyone walking past thinking what's happening, will agree with everything that's been said here. But how does the message get out? We are seen as the people that are anti-trans. We are not. But how does the anti-gender inclusive message get out? I don't know. That's a question to you. Another question I've got is a bit about pride. It's a bit add to this. We've got equal rights. What does pride stand for now? Pride should be to look back and think, actually, I'm a gay man, so I can comment on this. Pride should be to look back and think, and to thank the people why the rights were won. Everyone's got equal rights, like you said earlier. So what are they protesting for? And like you said, I don't even think they know. So my genuine question is to everybody here, how do we get our message out? And you said it yourself earlier, the majority of people here are middle-aged women. How do we get younger people involved in understanding that actually we aren't the bad side? Last question is, why would a man want to be in a woman's space? One reason only, and that's the last thing I need to say.
All decent men know what bad men do, because they've witnessed it and they've heard all about it their whole lives. There is a kudos to misbehaving. Over there's a sign that says Nurses for Trans Rights. I think they mean nurses for men imposing themselves on women's wards. I just want to say to people in the NHS, to doctors and nurses going along with this, whether it is obliterating the right for a woman to be in a female-only space, whether it is endorsing the notion that we should spend NHS money on mutilating individuals. I don't care how old they are. And I want to say, we will remember you when this war is over, and we will win. We will remember every single one of you in a position of authority that told our children that they could change sex, that told women on the wall to shush, be quiet now. He just needs to pee. She just needs to heal. We will remember the doctors that didn't watch and wait, that put our children on puberty blockers, that went along with the pernicious, vile notion that you can be born in the wrong body, to endorse the idea for a small child who is feeling fearful and loathing their body, that they are right to hate it, that their body is wrong. So, I want each and every one of you to be really proud of yourselves for coming out today. It's amazing. I know some of you came feeling afraid. I know some of you came feeling really like you are not going to take any more of this. And I'm just delighted that the spoiled, entitled brats came out to oppose us because they have no idea. Left-wing socialist feminists talk about optics. I don't care for optics. I think they're a waste of time. I don't care about the people who look upon me or you and say that our methodology isn't right. Every single person that walked past today, as that young man said, oh, I'm sounding really old for calling you a young man. As that tiny teenager just came up and said, every single person that walks past goes, look at the spoiled brats and look at these quiet, respectable women and men coming to stand up for women's rights. So, are you ready for this then? Okay, if you can stand with people of which you don't agree on anything else but this one issue, and you can put it all aside, then I promise we will win. If you can look upon the idiocy of the ideology and you can laugh until you can laugh no more, then I promise we will win. If you seek unity where others spread division, I promise we will win. And ladies and gentlemen, do you know why else we're going to win? Because I never lose. Thank you very much. Thank you to the stewards. Thank you to the police. Thank you to all of you for coming. Thank you to the amazing women of Newcastle who organised. I'm going to switch off the live stream and I'm going to give you a couple of things before you go.
Can I? Oh, yeah, it's all right, got it.
Technical, Mary, is technical.
Yeah, there we go. It's got a button.
Got it?
I think so, yeah.